Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. In today's episode, Ranger Suarez has just put together one of the best months of pitching in Philadelphia Phillies franchise history. His June has been incredible. Last night, he was great again against the Chicago Cubs. We'll talk about his performance, the game in general, and we'll also look forward to the rest of the series with Chicago and how the Phillies can pull out a series win. All of that on today's episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in. Locked On Phillies is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Make sure you're rating and reviewing wherever you consume your podcasts if you enjoy the program. And if you're not watching on YouTube yet, check it out. And if you are watching on YouTube and you like Locked On Phillies, subscribe to Locked On Phillies. And if you are already watching on YouTube and have subscribed to Locked On Phillies, well, thank you very much. Send me $5 in the mail. No, I'm just kidding. I appreciate it very much, and I appreciate the continued support. Thank you so much to all of you. However you're checking out today's episode, I really appreciate it. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Shout out to our friends over at GameTime. Now, the Philadelphia Phillies took down the Chicago Cubs 5-1 last night up in the windy, or I guess we'll call it the smoky city for last night, because they were dealing with some of the wildfire smoke that caused the Phillies to postpone a game earlier on in the season. They're still getting that coming down from Canada. They're, of course, a lot closer to Canada than we are here in Philadelphia. So that was a little bit of an issue last night, but they decided they were going to play through it. So all good there. Then game tonight is scheduled for 8:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time between the Phillies and the Cubs. Haven't heard anything about moving it or postponing it, anything like that. So you can go ahead and check that out. If you can't get to the TV side, well, go to the SiriusXM app and search Phillies, and you'll be able to pull up the full Phillies hometown radio broadcast of that game between the Phillies and the Cubs tonight at 8:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just go to the SXM app again and search Phillies, and you'll be able to pull that all up. Now, Phils won last night, 5-1. We're going to get a little bit into that game coming up, but I want to start with the performance by Ranger Suarez, because he was absolutely incredible last night. 7 1/3 inning pitch, only allowed one run, and it was an earned run that was given up by a reliever after he was already out of the game. So he went 7 shutout innings. I mean, the month of June that he put together was absolutely incredible. I'm going to run through a couple numbers with you, and it really puts in perspective how good he's been. Now, Ranger Suarez made 5 starts in the month of June. And he went 6+ innings in all of them. Now, here's the list of Philadelphia Phillies pitchers that have gone 5 starts in a month with 6 innings pitched and 1 earned run or fewer in each of them. And this is since 1893. So got a lot of sample size. Since 1893, which is 130 years ago, I guess would be, 130 years ago. There have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There have only been 11 Phillies pitchers to ever do it. Well, 10 before last night. Let's start from the bottom. Frank Corridon, of course, we all remember him. George McQuillan, yeah. Now, Grover Alexander, we are familiar with him because of the name. He's a Phillies legend. He's done it. Robin Roberts, Larry Jackson, Jim Bunning, Steve Carlton, Dick Ruthven, Cliff Lee, Aaron Nola, and now Ranger Suarez. A reminder, Aaron Nola did it in May of 2018 when he had his Cy Young candidacy year. Ranger Suarez joining the likes of Nola, Lee, Ruthven, Carlton, Bunning, Roberts, Alexander. I mean, those are some of the who's who of the best pitchers in the history of the Philadelphia Phillies. Roy Halladay never did it. I mean, Cole Hamels never did it. Some of these guys that you think of being top arms of our lifetimes just were unable to accomplish what Ranger Suarez accomplished in the month of June. That's absolutely incredible, rarefied air to be in for Ranger Suarez, and it's incredible. Here are his official stats in June as of him finishing up his start last night. So, like I said, he made 5 starts, won 6+ innings in all of them. But the total numbers, a 1.08 ERA in June. Unbelievable. 5 starts, 4 earned runs, 33 1/3 innings pitched, 33 strikeouts, 1 home run allowed, 8 walks. I mean, That's unbelievable. There are guys out there walking 4 guys a start. This guy walked 8 guys in a month. He struck out 33, so he's striking out a batter an inning while having a 108 ERA. He only allowed 1 home run in 5 starts. I mean, Ranger Suarez has been absolutely outstanding. That's about as good as it gets. He's just so impressive. And let me tell you, he's only getting better. Like, you look at it and you see Ranger Suarez following up what he did 2 years ago when he had like a 1 and change ERA over the course of 100 some innings. It was like his first full-ish year up at the major league level. And last year he struggled a little bit and he had injuries at some points and he came back down to earth. But you always had the feeling that he had the stuff. He's a really just smart pitcher. Pitches to contact more often than some guys like Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, who rack up the strikeouts. But that also helps him with his pitch count, allows him to go deeper into games, allows him to pitch more effectively when you look at the pitch count perspective, because he's not throwing 4, 5, 6 pitches in a bat. He's throwing 2, 3, 4 pitches in a bat. So that's awesome. And my favorite thing about Ranger Suarez, my number one favorite thing, today, the game has become absolutely obsessed with velocity. Who's throwing 100? Who's throwing 101 to 104? Who's sitting 102 with like a 100-mile-an-hour splitter? Like, they're throwing pitches. Guys that are top-level arms in Major League Baseball are throwing pitches that would break the brains of guys that played just 20 years ago. I mean, heck, they're breaking the brains of people that they face today. And Ranger Suarez goes out there and sits like 92, 93 with his fastball and just controls the ball, has a good bevy of pitches. Like, his arsenal is very complementary to each other. He controls all of his pitches well. He has good movement on all of them well. Like, he spots, he pitches smartly. He doesn't blow anybody away. But when you see numbers like that in today's day and age, you're like, okay, how hard does he throw? Is he throwing 100 and just gassing it by everybody with a plus fastball? He throws a good fastball with movement. I mean, 92, 93 is not slow, but by today's Major League standards, it's not fast either. And the way he attacks a batter, the way he attacks an at bat in general is just, it's a beautiful thing to watch. The guy's such a darn good pitcher. And him being this good, you look at what this rotation is now, right? Just imagine this with me for a second. Taijuan Walker has been really, really good. He's going to go tomorrow night against the Chicago Cubs. He's been incredible. One of the better pitchers in baseball over the past month. Ranger Suarez arguably has been the best pitcher in baseball over the past month. So Taijuan Walker's really stepped it up. You have Zach Wheeler, who we know how good he is. He's dominant and better than Suarez and Walker when he's at his best. Then you have Aaron Nola, who when he has his great game, he's unhittable. When he has his bad game, he's very hittable, but he has the opportunity to be like a top-level arm any given day. He throws tonight. We'll talk about him coming up in a second. But, yeah, Nola goes tonight. We'll see if we get good Nola or bad Nola. But the ceiling on him is what we just talked about in 2018. He had a month in 2018 that was the same or similar stats to what Ranger Suarez just put together. And then, if healthy, you bring up Andrew Painter. So Suarez, Walker, Wheeler, Nola, Painter. My goodness, is that a good rotation? At the start of the year, they were one of the worst in baseball, but they figured something out. I don't know if it's something Caleb Cotham did with them. I don't know if it's just the momentum build of like, hey, we've all gotten stretched out and we've worked over the short offseason and now we're starting to hit our stride. I don't know what it is, but Ranger Suarez put together an incredible month. The rest of the guys are feeding off of it, and maybe he's feeding off them as well. And this Phillies starting rotation is starting to look amazing. So credit to Ranger Suarez. Congratulations on an incredible month. But, hey, we got a couple more months to go. Let's keep it going. Be the first Phillies pitcher ever to do that 2 months in a row. I don't know if he'd be the first to ever do it. I have to imagine he would be, because that would basically put him in contention for the Cy Young after missing over a month's worth of the season. But, hey, sky's the limit for this guy, and he's still young, and he's got the taste of the postseason already from last year, and he's just a guy that goes out there and takes care of business day in and day out. So kudos to Ranger Suarez on a great month. Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened in the actual game outside of Ranger Suarez's pitching exploits and talk about, well, there were some offensive exploits as well, mainly from one man, and we'll discuss another base running issue. I feel like we're doing that every other week at this point. But start of the season, it was every other game. So I guess that's a positive move in the right direction. I don't know. We'll discuss as we continue Locked On Phillies. All right. Let me tell you a little bit about my friends over at GameTime, right? There's opportunities to go to games in the summer, but you have so many other plans. Let's say, for example, tomorrow I'm supposed to go grab drinks with some buddies. They're super flaky, right? So what if around 4 o'clock they text me and they're like, now we're out. I don't really feel like going to the bar anymore. I got work. I got to go do something with my girlfriend, this, that, or the other thing. I'm like, man, well, what do I do? And one of your other buddies texts you and he's like, listen, all my friends bailed on me too. But it's 4 o'clock. It's too late to make plans. It's not. Go to the GameTime app. You can go ahead and find last minute tickets for a great price to some great local events, including sports, comedy, theater, all that good stuff, music. Basically, whatever you could buy a ticket to, GameTime can help you out with. Let me tell you a little bit about it, okay? You can forget planning months in advance. GameTime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. You can get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the GameTime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, GameTime is going to credit you 110% of the difference. You get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what your view of the event's going to be. You get tickets in a matter of seconds, just a couple of taps and it's set. I mean, I was buying something online the other night, and it took me like 15 minutes to go through checkout and everything like that. No, not with the GameTime app. Super easy to go ahead and get that done. And tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. It's absolutely the perfect way to get last-minute tickets, first-minute tickets, however you buy tickets. It doesn't even have to be the latest thing. Check out GameTime, and they'll be able to help you out. You can snag the tickets without the stress with GameTime. So download the GameTime app and create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Okay, the Phillies took down the Cubs, a 5-1 victory for your Phillies last night. They'll play them again at 8:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. You can listen to every pitch of the Phillies' hometown radio broadcast of that game on the SiriusXM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies, and you'll be able to hear all of that. The Phillies are now 41-37 on the year after taking down the Cubs last night. And how did they do it? Well, it largely rested on Ranger Suarez, who we already talked about. While we're on the topic of pitching, Gregory Soto came in and he gave up the one run for Ranger Suarez, but worked out of a bit of a jam. 2 strikeouts by him. Great work. Craig Kimbrell comes in the game late. More on Craig Kimbrell in a little bit, but he only allows 1 hit, strikes out 2, and shuts down the game there. So that's all good. But offensively, there are a couple guys who really contributed. First off, Kyle Schwarber, 2 for 4. He was nice in this game. He had a couple of singles, a single and a double, I should say. He led off with a double, and NBC Sports Philadelphia was still in commercial. So you come back to the ball just rolling down the right field line. You're like, what is going on right now? Is this some type of replay or a pregame thing? Nope, it was Kyle Schwarber leading off with a double. And then Trey Turner singles as the next batter, scores Kyle Schwarber. So all good to start the game, right? Well, not all good. The throw from right field from Seiya Suzuki comes into first base, and Trey Turner just randomly super over-rounded first base and is just standing there and gets tagged out. I don't know what in the world happens there. How do you possibly, first base is the cutoff man. You know he's standing in front of you. It's not like he was behind you. I don't understand what Trey Turner was thinking. Terrible base running, just absolutely awful work. This Phillies team is one of the worst base running teams I've ever seen at the major league level. They just make so many boneheaded mistakes. Like, they don't get thrown out on the base pass because they're trying to stretch a single into a double. They don't get thrown out on the base pass because they took an opportunity to try and leg out a triple when the team could really use it. I mean, they just have the dumbest base running mistakes I've ever seen. It drives me insane. So, yeah, that really bothered me. But whatever. You're up 1-0 in the first. With Ranger Suarez on the mound, you're like, okay, I feel all right about scoring first. You could probably use a couple more runs, but a good early lead, yeah, sure, we'll take it. Then in the second, Brandon Marsh goes ahead and absolutely nukes a ball. Thank goodness baseballs, I know there's an old expression, that ball had a family. Thank goodness they don't, because this baseball's family would be weeping for their lost family member, because Brandon Marsh hit this ball about as hard as you can hit a baseball. Now, it only went 418 feet. The wind was blowing in like crazy at Wrigley last night, Windy City. It's always either blowing in or blowing out. So that ball could have easily been like 435, 440 if it hadn't been windy. But Marsh demolished it to right field. Just caught a fastball well, hit it out of the park, 2-0 Phillies. Then the middle innings kind of slowed down a little bit. Nothing in the third, nothing in the fourth. Then in the fifth, Brandon Marsh comes back up. hits a 2-run home run after a nice Bryson Stott bunt for a hit. Marsh catches a curveball inside and turns on it, drops the hammer on it like you see lefties do all so often, that down and in pitch that they love to hit. Bombs one about the same spot, 411 feet. Another absolute nuke job. Brandon Marsh, it's his second multi-home run game of his career, the first since June of last year when he was still with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. So great work there to make it 4-0. And just like that, you feel pretty good. Fifth inning, up 4-0. Ranger Suarez is dealing. Okay, great. Then Nick Castellanos adds on. RBI single to right. He should be an all-star. No reason why he shouldn't be in Seattle coming up. Nick Castellanos, big RBI single to score Cody Clemens. 5-0 in the fifth, and you say, okay, this game's pretty much over. And it really was. Besides Nico Horner with an RBI single in the eighth after Ranger Suarez went back out for the eighth and then struggled a little bit, and then Gregory Soto inherited 2 runners, gave up 1 run on there. Good workout by Gregory Soto still. But besides that, there were no real worries in the game, and even with that, weren't really totally worried. So the game ends 5-1. Now, I saw a lot of comments because Craig Kimbrell comes into the game. It's a 4-run deficit in the ninth inning. The Cubs haven't been able to muster a lot of anything offensively. The Phillies have 6 games this week in 6 days, including last night's game. They had the off day on Monday, and now they're going to play every day between now and Sunday. So a lot of people were like, well, Craig Kimbrell, why is he throwing? It's a 4-run game. You're using your closer. You're going to burn him out in a game against the Cubs that you seem to already have in control. Why don't you throw, I don't know, why don't you throw Andrew Vasquez? Why don't you throw Jeff Hoffman? Why don't you throw one of these guys that is not going to close for you and save Craig Kimbrell? Where there's a couple things. I did like the move by Rob Thompson, and I'll tell you why. First of all, this is something we discussed on 97.5 The Fanatic today on the radio, on the John Kincaid Show, where some guys just like to get working. Some guys like to throw once every 2-3 days. And with the off day Monday, maybe Craig Kimbrell felt like, hey, let me get back out there. Let me stretch out a little bit and get some work in. Okay, maybe. That might have been it. Could have also been that he was just, Rob Thompson was looking at, and this is what I think. See, the one is just you're guessing that a player told a manager something. This is the strategy of it, and this is what I cling to more, right? If I'm Rob Thompson and I have a 4-run lead over the Chicago Cubs, and I know that I trust Craig Kimbrell to get out of this, and we need to stack wins as much as possible, and we had a slow start to the season, every win's important, a 4-run margin is about the line. If it was 5 runs, I'm going with one of the lower guys. But 4, it's only one off of a save opportunity. You want to make sure getting the first game of a road series or of a series in general is super important for momentum, because then you have 2 opportunities to win the series. You blow a game like that, and you could lose all your momentum in the series. So it's kind of like, make sure you finish the job. It might seem like overkill. It might seem like wasting a pitcher, but when you got an opportunity to win games, you go win games. And maybe he's lost a little bit of faith in some of the other guys in the bullpen after the struggles that they had against, I don't know, in the Mets series or anything like that. They look good against the Athletics, but I really don't know the thought process fully in Rob Thompson's head because I'm not inside his head. But the way I look at it is you make sure of the victory when you can. And last night, putting Craig Kimbrell in was his way of making sure of the victory. And I'll never get mad at putting guys out there to help you win a ball game. Plain and simple. There'll be times where I'll say, okay, you probably didn't need to use that guy. It would be nice. We might get in a scenario tomorrow where it'll look like you wish you had that guy. But if his argument to me when I say that is, well, hey, I'm not worried about tomorrow. Let's win the ball game today. And then tomorrow we'll figure out who's available and everything like that. I'll say, okay, fair. You're trying to win ball games. It worked. You won the ball game. So that's why I have no issue with Craig Kimbrell going in there. I think people assume too many wins in Major League Baseball sometimes. Weird things happen. 4-run victories are not exactly blowouts. That game was never like the Phillies were demolishing the Cubs. It felt comfortable, but still, it wasn't out of hand yet. So I don't mind Rob Thompson going with Craig Kimbrell there. Just my personal thoughts. I understand why you may be upset if the Phillies have a save situation tonight and they got to go with somebody else and Kimbrell's not available and they blow it. Okay, I'll have egg on my face. But until that happens, I don't mind the move by Rob Thompson. And even if I say that, I'd be going back on my word. So that's how I feel about it. Feel good. We'll see tonight if the Philadelphia Phillies make enough of offense happen that doesn't come into account, really. So we'll discuss that. And coming up, we'll give a quick preview of tonight's contest between the Phillies and Cubs, break down that, look at an interesting starting pitching matchup and a game that the Phillies are not favored in. We'll discuss as we wrap up Locked On Phillies. All right, let's talk Phillies, Cubs, Game 2, 8:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can listen to every pitch of the Phillies' hometown radio broadcast and their matchup with the Cubs tonight on the SiriusXM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies, and you can pull everything up there. It's an interesting pitching matchup. You have Aaron Nola facing off against Drew Smyly. Now, the ESPN matchup predictor gives the Phillies a 44.7% chance to win, 55.3% for the Chicago Cubs. But the betting odds have the Phillies at the minus 140 favorite. So ESPN's going against the Vegas odds right now. And these ESPN analytics models, and they highly weight the opening pitching matchup. Aaron Nola is 6-5 on the year. A lot of decisions, but a 4.38 ERA. Drew Smyly, 7-4 on the year with a 3.38 ERA, a 1.22 whip. Nola's got a 1.07 whip. A little bit lower of an ERA, right? A full point lower ERA. But you look at the whip, Smiley's allowing more base runners. He's allowing 75 hits in 82 innings. Nola's allowing 82 hits in 100 innings, so that's why the whip's lower. Nola struck out 98 in 100, while Smiley's only struck out 69 in 82 innings. Nice. Walks are 26 even, so Smyly you can be selective against. He's not going to strike out a bunch. You can be selective with the pitching, and he's given up 11 home runs. Now, Nola's given up 15 home runs. Hopefully the wind's blowing in at Wrigley like it was last night, and no balls leave the yard for the Cubs like Ranger Suarez was able to keep them to. But I look at that and I say, I don't know, man. I kind of like the Phillies tonight. I don't really make predictions because they always come out wrong, but I don't understand why the ESPN analytics predictor has the Cubs at a 55.3% chance to win. Smiley's good, but if you're patient against him, you go to work, then you can make it hurt. He's not an unhittable pitcher. He is a lefty, so it's going to be a tough night for guys like Schwarber, Harper, Stott, and Marsh. It will be difficult for those guys, so we'll see how that plays out, but I don't know. I think it's a good opportunity for the Philadelphia Phillies. And, yeah, you just look at the numbers offensively. Bone with 47 RBIs, Castellanos batting .312, Schwarber with 20 home runs. All of those lead the leaders for the Chicago Cubs, which are Wisdom with 14 home runs, Horner for RBIs and average at 40 and a 282 average. I don't know. The Phillies are just a better team. They're playing consistently good baseball right now. You have the opportunity to win the series right now, and this is going to be the toughest game because coming up tomorrow, you have Taijuan Walker, and he's going to be facing off. Well, Kyle Hendricks has a 2.60 ERA. Never mind. No easy game the rest of the way. It's going to be on the offense and Aaron Nola tonight, and tomorrow, I'm really just looking at Taijuan Walker to outduel Kyle Hendricks and just be the better pitcher because he has been lately. So a lot to look forward to still in the series, but take it a game at a time. That's what Rob Thompson did last night using Craig Kimbrell. That's what Ranger Suarez has done all month on his way to one of the Phillies' best months. And that's what the Phillies did last night on their way to a win. Hopefully we have another one to talk about tomorrow. Of course, as you see, I got my victory shirt on today, freshly washed. Hopefully I'll get to wear it again for tomorrow's episode. So we'll have that all squared away for you. But that's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for checking us out. Make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube as I talked to you about when the show started. Thank you so much for everybody who already has. And if you're going to, thank you in advance. Really appreciate you. And I will talk to you next time on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.